Greetings and salutations from central Louisiana on a warm, muggy afternoon just 4 miles west of Dry Prong. And today is the final episode of me and the belt pulley assembly and the belt pulley, unless I got to take it off for something else. But for right now, I consider this project done. Good morning. First thing, we'll have to put the seal inside this housing. You notice it goes all the way back to there's a lip in here inside the housing that it'll have to go back and rest against, all the way down to where my little middle finger's at right there. There's a ridge it's going to have to rest against, because there is a orifice here that allows excess oil to drain back into the transmission away from its greasing all the way from its bearing once it's installed. But to get this seal in, I'm going to resort to go back to the press, although I could use a vise in this large socket that my middle child rounded up for me. So anyway, that's the next step. So far so good. I got the oil seal and the felt back in, got the housing slid back down. Had to kind of put a little light oil there to make it slide on good, and did some gyrations to make sure the seal didn't distort when it went down, but everything looks good so far. Next is to drop the bearing in, and it's a little bit, I need to put just a little bit of light oil around it and drop it on in, and then I'll put this clip to hold it in. But I'm going to put y'all on time lapse, haha. After a little bit of struggling and all, I did get it all pressed back together. Didn't want to go back on quite as easy as it come off. This clip, I had to get it down far enough that clip could grab. So it's in, the clip's in, the bearing's in, the oil seal's in, the felt's back on. It's ready for me to put the center sleeve and the bearing and the end cap back on. And then got to remember, when I put these shims on before I assemble it back to the main assembly, there is a notch in this shim which has to fit close to this hole right here, because that's to let it drain the excess oil back into the reservoir. Okay, here we go. This metal sleeve, piece of pipe, just a spacer, it drops on there, and then this has to be lined up with the key right there. And this I had to press off before. I'm going to have to press it back on. So got to do that. Got to get this bearing and gear pressed onto this shaft. Once that's there, then I can put the thick washer and the two bolts that lock it down to keep them coming off. Of course, if you got to press it on, it makes me wonder if it would ever come off. So, all right, with some gentle persuasion and an oversized socket to catch it along this rim out here, it did press back down on. I had to make sure I was lined up with the key slot, and it is back together, other than putting this thick washer right there and threading these two bolts down, and then setting the ears back up so they'll lock them. But that, and then I'll put the shims on, and then I'll put it back in the assembly, and we can put this back together. To own up and be honest, in my pressing things around, I did manage to mess up the starting threads on these two holes, and I had to take my tap set and go in here and clean it back out. But that's, you know, as thin as this wall is right here between this center point and these two threaded holes, I have no doubt that when I pull it out, that center punch that was in there on the puller pushed it out just enough to make it a problem. So I've cleaned out the threads and I'm ready to go forward. Okay, we're reassembled everything. The little metal tabs are up. I put the shims in, and I've got one bolt in here partially just to keep it all lined up. I want to make sure that this slot right here lines up with the aperture there, because that allows the excess oil to drain back. Alrighty. The old adage about getting something back together and there being an extra part laying around. I left this in the cleaning fluid. I just realized I knew that when I tightened this down past a certain point, it all got hard to move. So that means I've got to pull this back out, put this extra shim back in there to get the proper spacing on the gears so they don't bind. Hey, my stupidity, maybe you can learn from it. Alright, now it's back together. Look at that, it actually turns without a lot of resistance, which I would expect some in here considering the gears and all. But before, I had to back these screws back off in this cap and leave a gap in there for it to spin. Now, with that extra shim, which is the thickest of the two you see right there, there's actually 4 shims in there. And the thickest one right there on the inside edge is the one I found in my cleaning bucket. But yeah, something to be said for making sure you put all the parts back the way you found them. Okay, now it's back together, and all I got to do is finish cleaning surfaces. I've cleaned this surface, and I have used some mineral spirits to try to clean any residual oil off of it. And I got to come back over here and finish cleaning these surfaces, get them good and clean, because I'm going to try using some more Make a Gasket on it to see if I can't make a good seal there. So, and I should be able to call this project quit in a little bit. We'll see. Alrighty, here it is. We've got it back together. Not too much trouble. The only issue was with this bolt, and the problem was I didn't get back in putting this bolt in quick enough, and the Make a seal kind of congealed in there, and it was spongy and wouldn't let me punch through it. Rest of the bolts went in fairly easy. Keepers are still here for the positioning. It's together. This moves somewhat. We'll see what happens when it comes time to actually use this. I don't want to tear it down, but they say that when you assemble one of these, you put 1 pint of gear lube in here to pre-lube this shaft and all, which makes sense because this is it feeds off the main transmission down here, which is flinging oil up into this space and it's dripping back down. So the oil starts down here, thrown up in here, goes back and drips down in here. If whatever overflow goes in and comes back, and then it's got a little lip down here, whatever overflows drips back into the transmission. So that's how it works, but that's where I'm at. This has been almost a week-long project. Of course, for some of y'all, it's maybe a 2-hour project, but I'm kind of slow moving and getting there deliberately, so it's back on, and I am proud of it. All right, here we are. I consider this project completed. On the belt pulley, I put the belt pulley itself onto the belt pulley assembly. It's all been redone, reassembled, and gasketed down. And I feel like I've accomplished something. Whether it was worth it or not, I'm not sure, but it's been done. So here we are.